The lawyer's hand was shaking as he read the numbers out loud. "Mrs. Patterson, your total net worth is..." He stopped, cleared his throat, and read it again. My son Marcus went completely white. His wife Jennifer dropped her coffee cup, and it shattered all over their fancy marble floor. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Hit that like button and subscribe to Her Real Stories so we can share these amazing journeys together. And please comment below with the city you're watching from. I love seeing how far stories reach around the world. Ring that notification bell too, because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. 3 days earlier, Marcus had looked me straight in the eye and said the words that still echo in my head. "Mom, you need to find another roof to live under."
Just like that.
After 44 years of raising him, sacrificing everything, being there through every scraped knee, every heartbreak, every triumph, he threw me away like yesterday's trash. But here's the thing nobody saw coming. While my son thought he was getting rid of his burden of a mother, I was already sitting in my $22 million villa in Hawaii, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. Let me take you back to where this all started because, honey, this story is going to blow your mind. It was Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, around 6:30 in the evening when everything fell apart. I remember the exact time because I was watching the news and they were talking about some celebrity divorce. Funny how life works. There I was, watching someone else's family drama, not knowing mine was about to explode. I'd been living with Marcus and Jennifer for 8 months. My husband Frank had passed away in January 2023, and the grief nearly killed me. Marcus insisted I move in with them. "Mom, you can't live alone in that big house," he'd said. "We got plenty of room, and the kids would love having Grandma around." At first, it seemed perfect. Their house in suburban Phoenix was beautiful, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a pool in the backyard. Marcus worked as a regional manager for some tech company, and Jennifer was a part-time yoga instructor who spent most of her time posting photos of her smoothie bowls on Instagram. But things started getting weird pretty fast. Jennifer began making these little comments. "Sophie, maybe you could help with the grocery bill this month? Or, the electric bill sure has gone up since you moved in." Always said with this fake sweet smile, but I could hear the edge underneath. Then came the bigger hints. "Marcus, maybe your mom would be happier in one of those nice senior communities. They have activities and people her own age." Marcus would just nod along. My own son, nodding along while his wife planned to get rid of me. The breaking point came on that Tuesday evening. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Something I'd been doing since I moved in because, let's be honest, Jennifer couldn't cook to save her life. She walked in with Marcus right behind her, and I could tell they'd been talking. "Mom," Marcus said, not even looking at me while I stirred the pot of soup. "Jennifer and I have been discussing our living situation." I kept stirring, but my stomach started twisting. "We think it would be better for everyone if you found your own place," Jennifer added, crossing her arms. "We need our space back, and you need your independence." I turned around slowly, wooden spoon still in my hand. "I don't understand. Have I done something wrong?" Marcus finally looked at me, and his face was cold. Colder than I'd ever seen it. "Mom, you're 69 years old. You can't depend on us forever. We have our own lives to live, our own family to think about." "I am your family," I whispered. Jennifer laughed. Actually laughed. "Sophie, you're not our responsibility. Marcus has already done more than enough by letting you stay here rent-free for 8 months. Rent-free. Like I was some charity case. Where am I supposed to go?" I asked. Marcus shrugged. "There are lots of options. Senior housing, assisted living, maybe you could get a roommate. You'll figure it out." "You have until Friday to find somewhere else," Jennifer said, looking at her perfectly manicured nails. "We're having friends over this weekend, and we need the guest room." 3 days. My own son was giving me 3 days to pack up my life and disappear. That night, I lay in their guest bed, my bed for 8 months, and cried harder than I had since Frank's funeral. But somewhere between the tears and the heartbreak, something else started growing. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. Anger. The next morning, Wednesday, September 13th, I woke up at 5:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I'd been staring at the clock, unable to sleep. But instead of feeling defeated, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Determined. I got dressed quietly and drove to First National Bank downtown. I hadn't been there in over 6 months, not since I'd updated some paperwork after Frank's funeral. The security guard, an older black man named Jerome, recognized me immediately. "Mrs. Patterson.
Good to see you.
Haven't seen you around here in a while.
Jérôme.
I need to access my safety deposit box." He walked me down to the vault, making small talk about the weather and how his granddaughter was starting college. I smiled and nodded, but my heart was pounding. The safety deposit box was number 247. I'd had it for 45 years, and in all that time, only 2 people had ever known about it. Me and my best friend Carol, who'd passed away 3 years ago. Not even Frank knew. When Jerome left me alone in the small viewing room, I opened the metal box with hands that were surprisingly steady. Inside were stacks of documents, all organized in manila folders with dates written in my neat handwriting. The first folder was labeled Real Estate, 1978 to 2024. I opened it and smiled for the first time in days. You see, while everyone thought I was just Frank's sweet little wife who stayed home and baked cookies, I'd been building something else entirely. Something that started in 1978 when I was just 24 years old and had gotten tired of asking Frank for money every time I needed new shoes. It started small. I began cleaning houses on the weekends while Frank was playing golf with his buddies. Just 2 houses at first, making $40 each. Frank thought I was visiting my sister Nancy. I took that $80 and put it in a separate bank account. Not to hide it from Frank, but because I wanted something that was just mine. By 1980, I was cleaning 6 houses and had saved enough to buy a tiny rental property, a rundown duplex on the south side of town. I fixed it up myself, learning plumbing and painting from library books and asking questions at Home Depot. The duplex started bringing in $800 a month in rent. That's when I realized I had a gift for this. I kept cleaning houses and kept buying properties. Frank never questioned where the extra money was coming from when I'd surprise him with a nice dinner out or when I could afford to buy groceries without asking for his credit card. By 1985, I owned 4 rental properties. By 1990, I owned 12. By 2000, I had my real estate license and was flipping houses on the side. By 2010, I owned 47 properties across 3 states. And by 2023, sitting in that bank vault looking at my paperwork, I owned 89 rental properties, had a real estate investment company, and had quietly become one of the wealthiest women in Arizona. The second folder was labeled Investments, 1982 to 2024. I had started investing in stocks in 1982 with the money from my rental properties. I was good at it. Really good. I had a natural instinct for picking companies that were about to take off. I bought Apple stock in 1984, Amazon in 1997, Google in 2004, Tesla in 2010. I never sold. I just kept buying and holding. The third folder was labeled Business Ventures, 1995 to 2024. In 1995, I'd started a small property management company called Desert Sun Properties. By 2024, it was managing over 300 properties for other investors and bringing in serious money. The fourth folder was the one that made me smile the biggest. It was labeled Hawaii, 2019 to 2024. In 2019, I'd bought a piece of land in Maui. 22 acres of the most beautiful oceanfront property you've ever seen. I'd built a villa there, not huge, but perfect. 4 bedrooms, each with an ocean view. A kitchen that would make a chef cry with happiness. A pool that seemed to blend right into the Pacific Ocean. I'd been going there twice a year since 2020, telling Frank I was visiting my cousin Linda in California. He never questioned it because Frank trusted me completely. The villa was worth $22 million now. I closed the folders and leaned back in the chair. According to my most recent statements, my total net worth was $47.3 million. $47.3 million. And my son had just told me to find another roof to live under because I was too much of a burden. I started laughing right there in that bank vault. Not a happy laugh, but the kind of laugh that comes when something is so ridiculous you can't believe it's real. Marcus thought he was kicking out his poor, helpless mother who had nowhere to go. He had no idea he'd just declared war on a woman worth nearly $50 million. I spent the rest of Wednesday making phone calls. The first was to my property manager, Lisa Chen. Sophie, how are you holding up? Lisa's voice was warm and concerned. She'd been managing my properties for 3 years and had become more than just a business partner. I'm doing better than expected, I said. Lisa, I need a favor. Do you have any properties available for immediate rental? Something nice but not too flashy. Of course. What are you looking for? 2-bedroom apartment or small house? Somewhere in Scottsdale, maybe? I need to move by Friday. There was a pause. Sophie, is everything okay? You don't need to rent for me. You could buy any house you want with cash. I know, but I have my reasons. Can you help me? Absolutely. I have a perfect place. It's a 2-bedroom condo in North Scottsdale, right near the mountains. The tenant just moved out last week. It's $2,800 a month, but for you, I'll pay the full amount. Actually, I'll pay 6 months in advance. Can you have it ready by Thursday evening? Sophie, what's going on? I smiled, looking out the window of my car at Marcus and Jennifer's house. Just trust me on this one. Oh, and Lisa? Don't mention to anyone that I'm the one renting it. Use my maiden name on the paperwork. Sophie Clark. My second call was to my lawyer, Robert Kim. Robert had been handling my business affairs for 15 years, and like Lisa, he was one of the few people who knew the truth about my wealth. Robert, I need you to check something for me. Do you still have the paperwork from when I created that shell company back in 2018? Desert Holdings, LLC? Yes, I have all those documents. Why? I need you to look into a property at 1247 Desert Willow Drive in Phoenix. I think Desert Holdings might own something related to that address. There was typing on the other end. Sophie, according to my records, Desert Holdings LLC purchased a mortgage note for that property in 2019. The original borrowers were Marcus Patterson and Jennifer Patterson. My heart started racing. I'd forgotten about that investment. Can you refresh my memory on the details? You purchased their mortgage when they were 3 months behind on payments and facing foreclosure. The bank was happy to sell the note to avoid the foreclosure process. As far as the borrowers know, they've been making payments to Desert Holdings LLC for the past 4 years. I sat in my car, staring at Marcus and Jennifer's house, the house I apparently owned the mortgage on, and started laughing again. Robert, what are the terms of that mortgage? Standard 30-year fixed rate, but there's an acceleration clause. As the note holder, you can demand full payment at any time with 30 days notice. And how much do they owe? Current balance is $478,000. I'd been saving my son's house for 4 years without him knowing it, and now he was throwing me out of it. Robert, I want to exercise the acceleration clause. Sophie, are you sure about this? That's going to put them in a very difficult position. They put me in a difficult position when they gave me 3 days to find somewhere to live. What do you want me to do? Send them official notice that the full amount is due in 30 days. Use all the proper legal language. And if they can't pay? I looked at Marcus and Jennifer's house one more time. Then we foreclose. My third call was to my travel agent, Patricia. Patricia, it's Sophie Patterson. I need to fly to Maui tomorrow evening. Can you book me on the latest flight out of Phoenix? Of course. How long will you be staying? I thought about Marcus's face when he'd told me to find another roof to live under. Indefinitely. Thursday, September 14th, was the performance of a lifetime. I woke up early and made breakfast for Marcus and Jennifer like I had every morning for 8 months. Pancakes, bacon, fresh coffee. Jennifer came downstairs in her workout clothes, already checking her phone. Morning, Sophie, she said without looking up. Just so, you know, we have the realtor coming by this afternoon to take some photos. Photos for what? I asked, flipping a pancake. Marcus walked in, adjusting his tie. We're thinking about getting our house appraised. Maybe doing some improvements to increase the value. I nodded and smiled. That sounds nice. What they didn't know was that they couldn't increase the value of a house they didn't own. So, Jennifer said, finally looking at me, have you found somewhere to live yet? I'm looking at a place today, I said, setting a plate of pancakes in front of her. It's a small apartment in Scottsdale. Assisted living? Marcus asked. The question hit me like a slap.
No, Marcus.
Just a regular apartment. Well, you might want to consider assisted living eventually, Jennifer said, cutting into her pancakes. At your age, it's good to have people around to help with things. I was 69, not 99. But I just smiled and poured myself coffee. By the way, Marcus said, we're going to need you to sign some paperwork today. My heart stopped. What kind of paperwork? Just stuff saying you're moving out voluntarily. For insurance purposes. Jennifer nodded. We want to make sure there's no confusion later about the living arrangements. They wanted me to sign something saying I was leaving voluntarily. Probably, so I couldn't claim any kind of tenant's rights later. Of course, I said sweetly. Whatever you need. At 2 p.m., I loaded my car with 2 suitcases and a box of personal items. Everything else, my photos, my books, my jewelry, I was leaving behind. They'd assume I was too poor to hire movers or get a storage unit. Marcus watched me carry the suitcases to my car. He didn't offer to help. You have our number if you need anything, he said. But his tone made it clear I shouldn't use it. Take care of yourself, Sophie, Jennifer called from the doorway. She was holding their baby daughter, Emma, who was 8 months old. My granddaughter, who probably wouldn't even remember me by the time she was old enough to talk. I will, I said. You take care too. I got in my car and drove away, watching their house get smaller in my rearview mirror. In the passenger seat was a manila folder with the paperwork Robert had prepared. At 4 p.m., I was sitting in my new apartment in Scottsdale. It was beautiful, floor-to-ceiling windows, granite countertops, a balcony overlooking the mountains. The kind of place Marcus and Jennifer could never afford, even though they had no idea I was the one paying for it. At 6:30 p.m., I was at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, waiting for my flight to Maui. At 11:15 p.m. Hawaii time, I was sitting on the lanai of my $22 million villa, drinking a glass of wine and watching the waves crash against the rocks below. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. But the best part was still coming. Marcus called me on Saturday, September 16th, at 9:22 a.m. Phoenix time. I was having breakfast on my terrace, watching dolphins play in the distance. Mom, his voice sounded weird.
Strained. Isua.
How are you?
Where are you?
I tried calling yesterday, but you didn't answer. I'm sorry. I was busy getting settled. I'm in my new place. The apartment in Scottsdale? I looked out at the Pacific Ocean. Something like that. How are Jennifer and the baby? They're fine. Listen, Mom, we got some weird paperwork yesterday. Something about the house. I set down my coffee cup. What kind of paperwork? It's from some company called Desert Holdings LLC. They're saying there's going to be a change in our mortgage terms. It doesn't make any sense. I had to bite my lip to keep from smiling. That does sound confusing. The thing is, we tried calling the number on the letterhead, but all we got was some automated message saying all mortgage questions need to be directed to their legal department. Have you talked to a lawyer? We can't afford a lawyer right now. Jennifer's worried they're trying to scam us somehow. Poor Jennifer. She had no idea what was coming. I'm sure it will work out, I said. These big companies probably just send out paperwork all the time. Yeah, maybe. Hey, Mom, are you doing okay? You sound different. I looked around at my beautiful villa, then down at my bank statement showing $47.3 million. I'm doing great, Marcus. Better than I have in a long time. Good. Listen, I have to go. Jennifer wants to take the baby to the park. But we'll talk soon, okay? Of course. Give Emma a kiss from Grandma. After he hung up, I called Robert. The first notice went out. I said, "Are you sure you want to do this, Sophie? This is going to be very hard on them." Robert, my son threw me out of his house with 3 days' notice. His wife laughed at me when I asked where I was supposed to go. They're about to learn what hard really feels like. What's the next step? I watched a sea turtle surface near my private beach. Let's give them a week to panic. Then we'll send the acceleration notice. And then we schedule a meeting. I want to see their faces when they realize the truth. Over the next week, I called Marcus every other day. Each time, he sounded more stressed. Tuesday, September 19th. Mom, we got another letter from that Desert Holdings company. They want us to come in for a meeting about our mortgage. Jennifer thinks someone's trying to steal our house. Thursday, September 21st. We went to the bank, but they said they sold our mortgage years ago. They can't help us. Mom, what if we lose the house? Saturday, September 23rd. Jennifer's been crying all week. We don't understand what's happening. These people are saying we owe more than we thought, but that's impossible. Meanwhile, I was living in paradise. I'd started taking morning walks on my private beach, swimming in my infinity pool, reading books on my terrace. I'd forgotten how peaceful life could be when you weren't constantly trying to please people who didn't appreciate you. I'd also been doing some research. It turned out Marcus and Jennifer hadn't been as financially responsible as they'd pretended. They had $47,000 in credit card debt, mostly from Jennifer's shopping habits and Marcus's gambling problem that he thought nobody knew about. Their savings account had less than $3,000 in it. They were living paycheck to paycheck while driving luxury cars and taking expensive vacations, all because they thought they owned a house worth $650,000. They had no idea they were about to lose everything. On Sunday, September 24th, I called Marcus one more time. How was your week? Terrible. His voice was flat. We got a final notice from Desert Holdings. They want to meet with us tomorrow at 2 p.m. If we don't show up, they're starting foreclosure proceedings. Oh no. That sounds serious. Mom, I don't know what to do. Jennifer's talking about calling her parents for money, but they're retired and living on a fixed income. We might have to declare bankruptcy. I felt a tiny twinge of guilt. Then I remembered Jennifer laughing when I'd asked where I was supposed to go. I'm sure you'll figure something out, Marcus. You're smart. I hope so. Listen, I have to go. Jennifer wants to spend the day with Emma in case we have to sell the house and move somewhere smaller. After we hung up, I called Robert. It's time, I said. Sophie, are you absolutely sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. All right. I'll see them tomorrow at 2 p.m. Do you want me to tell them you'll be joining the meeting? I smiled, watching the sunset paint the sky pink and orange over the Pacific. Don't tell them anything. I want it to be a surprise. Monday, September 25th, 2 p.m. I was already sitting in the conference room when Marcus and Jennifer walked in. I'd flown back to Phoenix that morning and driven straight to Robert's office. The look on their faces when they saw me was priceless. Mom, Marcus looked confused. What are you doing here? Jennifer was looking around the conference room like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Sophie, this is our meeting about the house. Why are you here? I smiled and gestured to the empty chairs across from me. Please sit down. Robert was sitting next to me with a thick folder of documents. He looked professional and serious in his navy suit. I don't understand, Marcus said, but he sat down. Jennifer remained standing, her arms crossed. Marcus, Jennifer, Robert said, opening the folder. Thank you for coming. We have some important matters to discuss regarding your mortgage and the property at 1247 Desert Willow Drive. Are you our lawyer now, Mom? Jennifer's voice was sharp. Because we can't afford a lawyer. Actually, I said calmly, Robert is my lawyer. He has been for 15 years. Marcus's face went pale. Your lawyer? Mom, how can you afford a lawyer? I reached into my purse and pulled out a copy of my bank statement. I'd had it specially printed just for this moment. I slid it across the table. Marcus picked it up and started reading. His mouth fell open. This says you have $47 million. Jennifer grabbed the statement from his hands. That's impossible. Sophie, this has to be fake. It's real, Robert said. I can provide verification from multiple financial institutions if needed. But, Marcus was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. You lived with us for 8 months. You let us pay for everything. You acted like you had no money. I never said I had no money, I replied. You assumed I had no money. Jennifer slammed the bank statement down on the table. This is insane. You're telling me that while we were struggling to pay our mortgage and stressed about money, you were secretly rich? Jennifer, you were never struggling to pay a mortgage. You've been paying it to me for 4 years. The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. What do you mean, paying it to you? Robert opened another folder and pulled out a stack of documents. Desert Holdings LLC is owned entirely by your mother. She bought your mortgage from the bank in 2019 when you were facing foreclosure. That's impossible, Jennifer said, but her voice was shaking. Your mother has been your landlord for 4 years, Robert continued. She could have foreclosed on you dozens of times, but she chose to let you stay and keep your dignity. Marcus buried his face in his hands. Oh my God, what have we done? You threw me out of my own house, I said quietly. You gave me 3 days to find somewhere else to live. You told me I needed to find another roof to live under. Jennifer sat down heavily in her chair. Sophie, we didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't care to know, I interrupted. You saw an old woman who you thought was helpless, and you decided she was a burden you didn't want to carry anymore. Mom, I'm so sorry, Marcus said, tears starting to form in his eyes. If you had known I was rich, you would have treated me differently. But that's not the point, Marcus. The point is how you treated me when you thought I had nothing. Robert cleared his throat. Mrs. Patterson, would you like me to explain the current situation? I nodded. Marcus, Jennifer, your mother has decided to exercise her rights as the mortgage holder. She's calling in the full amount of the loan immediately. Jennifer's face went white. What does that mean? It means you owe $478,000 by next Friday, or you lose the house. Marcus started hyperventilating. We don't have that kind of money. We don't have any money. I know, I said. I've seen your credit reports. You have $47,000 in credit card debt and about $3,000 in savings. How do you know about our credit? Jennifer demanded. Because I own your mortgage. I have the right to monitor your financial situation. The room was quiet except for Marcus's heavy breathing. Mom, he said finally, what do you want from us? I looked at my son, this man I'd raised, loved, sacrificed for, and felt something break inside my chest. I want you to understand what it feels like to have nowhere to go. Sophie, please, Jennifer said, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely scared. We have a baby. Emma is only 8 months old. You can't take our house. You didn't seem concerned about my well-being when you kicked me out. That was different. How is it different, Jennifer? Because. She trailed off, realizing there was no good answer. Marcus looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Mom, what can we do? How can we fix this? I stood up and gathered my purse. You can't fix it, Marcus. Some things can't be fixed. Robert handed them another set of papers. These are the official foreclosure proceedings. You have 7 days to vacate the premises. 7 days. Jennifer's voice cracked. You're giving us 7 days? I paused at the door and looked back at them. That's more than you gave me. I didn't hear from Marcus for 3 days. I was back in Maui, trying to enjoy my morning coffee on the terrace, but I kept thinking about the look on his face when Robert had handed him the foreclosure papers. On Thursday, September 28th, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Hawaii time. It was Jennifer. Sophie, please pick up. We need to talk. I let it go to voicemail. She called 16 more times that day. The voicemail started desperate and got progressively more angry. Sophie, we're family. You can't do this to family. You're being cruel and vindictive. This isn't the woman who raised Marcus. We'll sue you. We'll find a way to fight this. Our baby is going to be homeless because of you. That last one almost got to me. Almost. But then I remembered Jennifer laughing when I'd asked where I was supposed to go. On Friday, September 29th, Marcus called. Mom, please. We'll do anything. We'll apologize publicly. We'll make it right somehow. There's nothing to make right, Marcus. You showed me who you really are. I was stressed about money. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were stressed about money while living in a house I was paying for. I didn't know that. And now you do. How does it feel? He was quiet for a long time. It feels terrible. Good. Mom, where are we supposed to go? We've been calling apartments all week, but we can't afford anything without selling the house first. And now we can't sell it because we don't own it. I looked out at my infinity pool, then at the paperwork Robert had faxed me. Marcus and Jennifer had tried to refinance the house with 3 different banks in the past week. Of course, they'd been denied because they didn't own the property. I'm sure you'll figure something out, I said. You're smart, remember? Don't do this, Mom. Please don't become someone who gets revenge on family. I'm not getting revenge, Marcus. I'm just done taking care of people who don't appreciate it. That evening, Robert called with an update. They hired a lawyer, he said. Some kid fresh out of law school who's probably working for free. What did he say? He tried to argue that you can't evict family members. I explained that family relationships don't override legal contracts. Are they going to fight it? They can't. The paperwork is ironclad. You bought the mortgage legally, you've been collecting payments legally, and you have the legal right to foreclose. When do they have to be out? Tomorrow by 5 p.m. I hung up and walked out to my terrace. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. In the distance, I could see a whale breaching. It was one of the most beautiful sights I'd ever seen. But all I could think about was Marcus and Jennifer packing their belongings, just like I'd packed mine 3 weeks ago. Saturday, September 30th, 4:47 p.m. I was sitting in my rental car across the street from 1247 Desert Willow Drive, watching. A moving truck was in the driveway. Marcus and Jennifer were loading boxes, their faces grim. Jennifer was crying. Marcus looked like he hadn't slept in days. Their 8-month-old daughter Emma was sitting in her car seat in the garage, playing with a stuffed animal, completely unaware that her world was about to change. I'd told myself I just wanted to make sure they were actually leaving. But really, I think I needed to see it with my own eyes. At 4:55 p.m., Marcus carried the last box to the truck. Jennifer was holding Emma and talking to a woman I didn't recognize, probably her sister Diane, who'd driven down from Flagstaff to help. At 4:58 p.m., Marcus looked directly at my car. For a moment, we stared at each other across the street. Then he handed his keys to Jennifer and walked toward me. I rolled down my window. Mom, Marcus, are you happy now? I looked at him, really looked at him. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled, his eyes red from crying or lack of sleep or both. No, I said honestly. I'm not happy. Then why did you do this? Because I needed you to understand something. Understand what? That actions have consequences. That people aren't disposable. That family means something more than just sharing DNA. Marcus leaned against my car. I understand now. I've understood since the moment I saw those bank statements. I was wrong. We were wrong. But Mom, we can't undo what we did. All we can do is try to move forward. Where are you going? Jennifer's sister has a spare bedroom in Flagstaff. We'll stay there while we look for jobs and try to get back on our feet. Flagstaff was 3 hours away. I'd probably never see Emma grow up. Marcus, I need you to answer a question honestly. Okay. If I hadn't had money, if I really was just a poor old woman with nowhere to go, would you have cared? Would you have tried to help me find somewhere to live? Or would you have just felt relieved that I was gone?
He was quiet for a long time.
I want to say I would have helped, he said finally. But I don't know. I was so stressed about our finances, so angry about everything. I wasn't thinking about anyone but myself. At least you're honest. Does that matter now? I looked past him at Jennifer, who was buckling Emma into the moving truck. My granddaughter, who would grow up thinking her grandmother was the woman who'd made them homeless. I don't know, I said. Marcus straightened up and looked at me one more time. For what it's worth, I love you. I know I didn't show it, and I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I love you. Then he walked back to the truck. At 5:03 p.m., they drove away. I sat in my car for another hour, looking at the house that was now mine again. The house where I'd helped Marcus with homework, where I'd kissed his scraped knees, where I'd tucked him in every night for 18 years. The house where he'd told me to find another roof to live under. March 15th, 2024. I was having breakfast on my terrace when my phone rang. The caller ID said Marcus. I hadn't heard from him since that day in September. Hi, Marcus. Hi, Mom. How are you? I'm well. How are you? We're okay. Jennifer got a job at a dental office in Flagstaff. I'm working construction. It's hard work, but honest work. That's good. Mom, I'm calling because Emma said something yesterday that broke my heart. My heart stopped. What did she say? She was looking at a photo of you that Jennifer's sister has on her refrigerator, and she pointed at it and said, Mama sad. Like she could tell that Jennifer gets upset when she sees your picture. I had to put the phone down for a moment and collect myself. Are you there? Marcus asked. I'm here. Mom, I know I have no right to ask this, but would you like to see her? Even just once? She's walking now, and she's starting to say more words. The pain in his voice was real. This wasn't manipulation. This was a father who missed his family. I'd like that, I said quietly. Really?
Yes.
But not at Jennifer's sister's house. Somewhere neutral. There's a park in Flagstaff with a nice playground. Emma loves the swings there. Okay.
When?
This weekend? Saturday afternoon. I'll be there. April 1st, 2024. I was sitting on a park bench in Flagstaff, wearing jeans and a simple sweater when Marcus walked up carrying Emma. She was so much bigger than I remembered. Her hair had grown into soft brown curls, and she had Frank's eyes, the same eyes Marcus had inherited. Emma, Marcus said softly, this is Grandma. Emma looked at me with curious eyes, then reached out her little arms. I started crying right there in that park. For the next hour, we sat and talked while Emma played on the playground. It was awkward at first. We were both trying so hard to be normal that everything felt forced. But then Emma fell down and scraped her knee, and I instinctively rushed over to comfort her. She let me pick her up, and she stopped crying when I kissed her tiny bandaged knee. Grandma, she said clearly, looking right at me. Marcus started crying too. Mom, he said quietly, I've been going to therapy. That's good. The therapist says I have issues with entitlement, that I grew up thinking the world owed me things, and when life got stressful, I took it out on the people who couldn't fight back. I stroked Emma's hair as she dozed in my lap. What do you think about that? I think she's right. I think I learned to take advantage of people who loved me because I knew they'd forgive me. And now I'm trying to learn how to be grateful for what I have instead of angry about what I don't have. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching other families at the playground. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you keep the money secret for so long? Even from Dad? I've been thinking about this question for months. Because I was scared, I said finally. Scared that if people knew who I really was, they'd want me for my money instead of loving me for myself. But we did love you for yourself.
Did you?
Or did you love the version of me that was convenient for you? Marcus didn't have an answer for that. I tested you. I continued. When I thought I might die from grief after your father passed away, I came to live with you to see if you'd take care of me the way I'd always taken care of everyone else. And we failed the test. You failed to see me as a person worth caring about when I couldn't do anything for you anymore. Emma stirred in my lap and opened her eyes. She looked up at me and smiled. But you know what I've learned? I said. Tests like that aren't fair. I should have been honest with you from the beginning. I should have trusted you with the truth. Would it have changed anything? Maybe. Maybe not. But at least we would have been dealing with reality instead of assumptions. Marcus reached across the picnic table and took my hand. Mom, I can't undo what I did, but I want to try to build something new with you. Something based on honesty instead of convenience. I looked into his eyes and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Humility. I'd like that too. There's something else, Marcus said. Jennifer wants to apologize to you. Face to face. She's been working with a counselor too, and she realizes how badly she treated you. I'm not ready for that yet, I said honestly. I understand. But maybe someday? Maybe someday. June 10th, 2024. Sophie. The contractors want to know about the kitchen cabinets. I was standing in the backyard of a beautiful 4-bedroom house in Flagstaff, watching the renovation crew work their magic. The house was 3 blocks away from where Marcus, Jennifer, and Emma were renting a small apartment. Tell them to use the maple. I called back to Lisa, who'd driven up from Phoenix to help oversee the project. I'd bought the house in May, not for Marcus and Jennifer. They needed to earn their way back to financial stability on their own. But I'd bought it as an investment property, and I was renovating it to rent out to a nice family. Marcus walked up beside me, covered in sawdust. He'd been helping with the renovation every weekend, learning construction skills that had actually landed him a better job with a local contractor. Mom, you know you don't have to pay me for this work. You're doing good work, and good work deserves fair pay, I said. That's how business works. Over the past few months, we'd been slowly rebuilding our relationship. Marcus had proven that he was serious about changing. He'd gotten a steady job, was going to therapy twice a week, and had started attending financial planning classes at the community college. Jennifer was making progress too. She'd apologized to me in a letter, a real apology that took responsibility for her actions instead of making excuses. She was working full-time now and had enrolled in accounting classes. But the real joy was Emma. I got to see her every other weekend, and she always lit up when she saw me. She was talking more now, walking everywhere, and had the sweetest laugh. "When will the house be ready?" Marcus asked. "August. I already have a family interested in renting it. A young couple with twin boys." Marcus nodded. Over the past few months, he'd learned not to ask if I was planning to let them rent it. He understood that he had to earn things now, not expect them to be given to him. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you think you'll ever move back to Arizona permanently?" I looked around at the mountains surrounding Flagstaff, then thought about my villa in Maui. "I don't know yet, but I'm thinking about buying a place here. Somewhere I can be close to Emma, but still have my independence." "That would be nice." "Marcus, there's something I want to tell you." "Okay. I've updated my will." His face went pale. "Mom, you don't need to. Let me finish. I've set up a trust fund for Emma. She'll have access to it when she turns 25, but only if she meets certain requirements." "What requirements?" "She has to graduate from college, work for at least 2 years in a job she earned herself, and complete a financial literacy course." Marcus smiled. "You want to make sure she understands the value of money." "I want to make sure she understands the value of everything. Money, family, hard work, treating people with respect." "What about me and Jennifer?" I was quiet for a moment. "You're both still young. You have time to build your own wealth, your own security. Emma will need guidance when she's older." "I understand. But Marcus, if either of you ever faces a real emergency, medical bills, job loss, something serious, you can always call me." "Thank you." "Just don't abuse it. I'll know the difference between an emergency and convenience." He laughed. "I believe you will." September 15th, 2024. I was in my new house in Flagstaff, a modest 3-bedroom place with a view of the mountains, when my doorbell rang. It was Emma's second birthday, and I was getting ready to drive over to Marcus and Jennifer's apartment for the party. When I opened the door, Jennifer was standing there with Emma in her arms. "Hi, Sophie," Jennifer said quietly. "I hope it's okay that we came early. Emma was so excited to see you. She couldn't wait." "Grandma," Emma squealed, reaching for me. I took her in my arms and felt that familiar warmth in my chest. "Happy birthday, sweet girl." Jennifer looked nervous. "Sophie, I was wondering if we could talk. Just for a few minutes." I invited her in and made coffee while Emma played with the toys I kept in my house just for her. "I know I already wrote you a letter," Jennifer began, "but I needed to say this in person."
"I'm sorry."
"Not just for kicking you out, but for how I treated you during those 8 months you lived with us." I sat down across from her at my kitchen table. "What do you mean?" "I made you feel like a burden every single day. The comments about bills, about your age, about senior living. I was trying to make you feel unwelcome, so you'd leave on your own." "Why?" Jennifer was quiet for a long time, watching Emma play. "Because I was jealous of you." "Jealous of me?" "You were so capable. You could cook, clean, take care of everyone. Marcus loved you in a way that made me feel like I could never measure up. And you had this quiet confidence, like you knew secrets that I didn't know." She laughed bitterly. "Turns out you did know secrets I didn't know." "Jennifer, I was never competing with you. I know that now. But back then, all I could see was that you were everything I wasn't. So when we had the chance to get rid of you, part of me was relieved." It was the most honest thing Jennifer had ever said to me. "What's changed?" I asked. "Having to take care of myself and Emma, without anyone's help. Learning what it's like to struggle, to worry about money, to feel helpless. I understand now what we put you through. Emma toddled over to me with a book. Story, Gran. I picked her up and settled her on my lap. Jennifer, I appreciate your apology. And I can see that you're trying to be a better person. But trust takes time to rebuild. We can be civil. We can work together for Emma's sake, but I'm not ready to be friends yet. Jennifer nodded. I understand. I hope someday we can get there. Maybe someday. Emma fell asleep in my lap while I read to her, and Jennifer and I sat in comfortable silence. Sophie, Jennifer said finally, Marcus told me about the trust fund you set up for Emma. What about it? Thank you. Not just for the money, but for the conditions you put on it. You're teaching her values that we forgot for a while. I looked down at Emma, this beautiful little girl who would grow up in a world where her grandmother was wealthy, but her parents were working hard to build their own success. She deserves to understand that everything worthwhile requires effort, I said. Even forgiveness? I met Jennifer's eyes. Especially forgiveness. December 24th, 2024. I'm sitting in my living room in Flagstaff, watching the snow fall outside my windows. Emma is napping on the couch next to me, worn out from opening Christmas presents. Marcus and Jennifer are in the kitchen, cleaning up from our Christmas Eve dinner. It's been exactly 1 year and 3 months since Marcus told me to find another roof to live under. In that time, I've learned more about family than I did in the previous 69 years. I've learned that blood doesn't automatically make you family, behavior does. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing to build something better on the foundation of truth. I've learned that money can solve a lot of problems, but it can't buy the things that really matter. And I've learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so good that the people who hurt you want to earn their way back into it. Marcus has kept every promise he made to me. He's been working steadily, going to therapy, learning to manage money responsibly. He's become the kind of father Emma deserves. Jennifer has surprised me the most. She's working full-time now, almost finished with her accounting degree, and has become genuinely independent. She doesn't ask me for help with anything unless it's a real emergency. And Emma is thriving. She's a happy, curious 2-year-old who loves books and puzzles and making people laugh. She doesn't know about the complicated history between the adults in her life. She just knows she's loved. As for me, I'm living a life that's finally honest. I have homes in both Maui and Flagstaff. I spend half my time managing my business empire and half my time being a grandmother. I don't hide who I am anymore, and I don't let anyone take advantage of my kindness. My net worth has grown to $52.7 million, but that's not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is Emma calling my name when I walk in the door. What makes me happy is seeing Marcus become a man I'm proud of. What makes me happy is building something real with my family instead of something based on assumptions and resentment. Tomorrow, we're going to take Emma to see the Christmas lights around town. She'll probably be more interested in the hot chocolate than the decorations, but that's okay. We're making memories, and memories are the only wealth that really lasts. The house that started this whole mess? I ended up selling it and donating the proceeds to a shelter for homeless seniors. It felt like the right thing to do. So here's what I want you to remember from my story. If someone treats you badly when they think you have nothing to offer, believe them. That's who they really are when they think there are no consequences. But also remember that people can change if they want it badly enough, and if they're willing to do the hard work that change requires. Most importantly, never let anyone make you feel small just because they can't see your worth. You are valuable regardless of what you have or don't have in your bank account. I spent 45 years hiding who I really was because I was afraid of how people would react. Don't make that mistake. Be proud of what you've built, what you've accomplished, what you've survived. You are worth more than you know, even if the people around you can't see it yet. Now, before I finish, I want to share something that changed my life completely. After everything I went through, the betrayal, the loneliness, the anger, I realized that holding on to pain was just another kind of prison. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in a cycle of hurt, disappointment, or broken relationships, you're not alone. That's why I want to tell you about something special. If you've ever been told you're too old to start over, let me tell you, that's a lie. Your story isn't over, and you still have chapters left to write. Our best-selling book, Reclaiming Your Peace After Pain, is filled with simple, powerful steps to help you heal, rebuild, and fall in love with life again. This book walked me through my own healing journey and taught me that forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about freeing yourself. Click the link in the description box and start your new beginning today. Now, I'm curious about you who are listening to my story. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever been underestimated by people you loved? Comment below and let me know. I read every single one because your stories matter to me. And don't forget to like this video if Sophie's story inspired you. Subscribe to her real stories for more amazing journeys like this one, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that notification bell too, because trust me, you don't want to miss the incredible stories we have coming up. Thank you for watching until the very end. You are part of what makes this community so special. Until next time, remember, your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you treat yourself and the legacy you choose to build. Sweet dreams from my cozy home in Flagstaff.